The best coverage of the Jazz, Utes, and Cougars is right here on The Zone. This is JJ and Alex, presented by G2G Bars on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
All right, welcome back. It is JJ and Alex, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Thanks for being with us. We're outside Delta Center out here on the plaza, getting ready for the Utah Draft Night. Open to the public, the 2024 draft. They're going to play it on the big screen in here. The air conditioning will be on. I've just got from a reliable source the AC is going to be on at the Delta Center.
Oh, that's good news.
I thought that was nice of them. That was
very thoughtful.
That's the kind of classy move that SEG kind of, they do. That's you know what? I mean, not to throw shade at Alex Morello, but here it goes.
Alex Morello.
Alex Morello, would never ask the public to attend a party because he would have to switch on the AC, or he would invite the public so that they could make money, obviously, off of like concessions or whatever. And then they would ask you, and then they wouldn't turn the AC on. That would be a former Arizona Coyotes move. That's why we're excited to bring a hockey franchise here. Look, you won't get that kind of trash talk from like the players, the former players, at least to your face. But the reality is there was a lot of stuff going on behind those doors. That scenario that I just built for you for fun as a hypothetical kind of happened on a regular basis, right? Yeah. That's a reason why they're not hosting an NHL team any longer in the Valley down there. It's a shame because we'll take it. We'll do it. We got tons going on though. It's a Jazz draft day. The NBA draft is going to be for the first time, or at least the first time in my lifetime, JJ. It's going to be a 2-day event. They're going to go first round tonight. You're going to get all the first round coverage you can handle right here on the KSL Sports Zone. As soon as we're done on the air, JJ's going to stay hanging out. You're going to get Jake and Ben, Coach Steve Cleveland. You're also going to get, at some point, I think Hans is going to come and relieve you. And we're going to get just the entire – almost
a good mix tonight.
Yeah, almost the entire staff chipping in to some degree tonight for the draft. And that's just the first round because then tomorrow we do it all over again starting middle of the day and then into our program. We're going to get the second round going on during our show, and then we'll carry that coverage all the way until the second round is done as well. So anything that happens Jazz draft-wise, we're going to get it to you right here on the KSL Sports Zone. That's our commitment to you. So let's kick off the hour, though. Our program is brought to you by G2G Bars. All natural ingredients and no preservatives make the G2G Bar perfect for anybody who needs a quick, tasty, nutritious boost. You can find them at Costco, Holiday Oil, Maverick, and Associated Foods, and many other grocers popping up all over the place in the refrigerated section, so give them a shot. Many thanks to our title sponsor of the program, G2G Bars. Let's kick off the hour, though, as we always do with the cut. Let's jump in right here.
It's time for the biggest story of the day. This is what made the cut with JJ and Alex on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Also, this portion of the show, The Cut, brought to you this hour by an incredible selection of Kia, Subaru, Chevy, Jeep, Dodge, or Ram. Visit Doug Smith dealerships in American Fork and Spanish Fork. Great service starts with know-how, and nobody knows like Doug. Here, Doug. Let me see here. Justin Zanik, the Jazz GM, of course, did his duty as a GM, which was to address the media and therefore the public when it talked about kind of plans going in, kind of at least surface level plans. And I think they probably get asked a lot of the same questions, JJ, every year, right? Kind of the overall 30,000-foot view of the draft. Are you trying to build through, free agency? Is it better to build through the draft? How do you want to do it? In fact, that was actually brought up by Jay-Z, and he talked about building a team. And I think it's interesting. You should be ready to build the team kind of however you can get it, but he specifically brought up building through free agency is not the way that you want to do it as a way of practice all the time.
There's going to be opportunities to use it in multiple ways. I think I told you guys initially, free agency isn't the game changer anymore. It used to be, just with all the extensions. There's some solid players out there, but it's not anybody that's probably going to move the needle in a significant way. They're more complementary. And so then you're looking for other opportunities to add impact players. That's why we have our picks. That's why we've stayed flexible, so that whenever those opportunities come up, we can do it. Are they there this year? Maybe, maybe not. Takes another team to agree. All of that's on the table for us. Obviously, part of it may be for retaining our players too, which I'd be really excited about.
We've talked about this market. That's actually probably a good thing for the Utah Jazz, and for Jazz fans, right? To know, well, one, free agency was a hard sell for people to come here to the state of Utah anyway. So if that's the case, if the extensions and the way that the NBA is made up now has moved more toward that model of building through the draft and every once in a while getting a nice free agency pickup, or just playing the game through the trades, trying to figure out how to get that blockbuster trade done, that's how the Jazz win, because they're never going to be that number one destination for free agents.
Well, it's not only not working for Utah, it's not working for anyone in the league. Those opportunities aren't there. Like, who are the teams going out and trying to spend on James Harden and Paul George this year? You're not getting LeBron James. He's not leaving L.A. So what free agents are you chasing that's going to help you build a winner? It doesn't work that way anymore. He's absolutely right. And so all of us who were programmed for years to think that free agency was this big deal have to deprogram ourselves from thinking that anymore. That's not how you do it. What happens is there's a lot of teams out there that sign these stars to long-term extensions. Those players then can be moved and traded, but you have to have the room under the cap to fit them in. Well, guess who has the room under the cap to fit some of these players in? The Utah Jazz. That's why they could have been in talks with Drew Holiday on the Mikal Bridges situation. They had opportunities there to absorb those contracts because they have the room for it. So the Jazz are well positioned to make those kind of trades and deals. You're not going to go out and offer James Harden a $50 million contract this summer. But what you can do is, like the situation with Mikal Bridges, is they could have found a way to make that happen. Now the Knicks gave up an insane amount. I don't think the Jazz should have gave up 6 picks for Mikal Bridges. I don't think they did the wrong thing last night. The Knicks may have regret for that moving forward. But they're all in on this team, this Villanova Knicks team that they're building. So deprogram yourself from thinking free agency is the way to go. These teams are now built through the draft, built through trades. That's how you acquire a big-time stars, through the trades, or you develop your own. And so the Jazz key is for them to be able to be savvy in these drafts, find that guy in these drafts, and develop them. So development and your scouting and all that kind of stuff is key.
We're hesitant to we're hesitant to say that there's a massive win that can happen on a night like tonight, because you really won't know until, sort of further down the road, unless a big name could come to Utah because of a trade that could happen. There's always that. But is there a way that what's the worst case scenario? We've talked about best case scenario. What's worst case scenario for this Jazz team? Like on a night like tonight, how could you look at this thing and know for sure, like, that's a bad draft night for this Jazz team when they have these first 2 picks, they have the 10th, 29th, and 32nd. Is it staying pat and just using all 3 of those picks, and that's not doing enough? Or is it trading away a bunch of draft stock for somebody that might be just like, that's kind of a nice name? What's a worst-case scenario for you if you're a Jazz fan and you're looking and you go, okay, I just don't want them to do this tonight?
Well, are you a fan that wants to go all in and build around Lowry and contend and compete next season? Or are you the fan that's all in on the 2025 NBA draft and the Cooper Flag sweepstakes? So your perspective changes there.
Are you convinced that you can build even around Lowry Market in a long term, have that be your guy, and then build everything else around it? Or do you need to add 2 more superstars and have him be like your third big name?
No, that's a great question. And I think that we're now moving into an era where just having 2 players isn't exactly all you have to do. What you need is a team. You need depth. And so to answer your question, yes, you could, but it depends on your depth. How deep are you? What players do you have at certain positions, and what do they bring to the table, and how well do they play together? Let's use the Knicks, for example. Do you think the Knicks, adding Mikal Bridges, vaults them into contender status? Is that a team that can win the NBA title next year?
Doesn't feel like it.
Okay. They may not. But you know what they have? Is they've got a really nice lineup.
It's a good start.
Of guys that know each other well, that will play together well, and that will have chemistry because they've had it in the past. And that might be enough for them, but we don't know that. So they're rolling the dice on that fact, and I wouldn't feel comfortable. I wouldn't feel comfortable rolling the dice on that if I'm the Knicks and I just gave up 6 picks to do it. I think 4 of them are first-round picks. I wouldn't feel comfortable with that. So maybe that's a roundabout way of answering your question with the Jazz, is building around Lowry enough. It may not be in the crowded West. So then what do? You have to take a step back and say, okay, what do we need to do if we're trying to win a championship? We may need to continue to pile up. Should I say it?
No.
Draft capital.
Give me the assets. Oh,
more assets.
Oh, so excited. Yeah, I don't know.
It's one or the other.
It's
right?
always hard. You know what's always hard is like the Mikal Bridges thing. You nailed it about the maybe it is enough for the Knicks, right? I mean, but it's always hard to package 4 unrestricted first round picks.
Yeah,
like
unprotected.
Kind of for anybody. 5 first round. Wasn't that what Rudy was? 4 first round picks.
It's a very similar deal to what the Jazz did for Rudy Gobert.
That's just it's so hard.
That sets the market. That's what the Jazz are going to ask for Lowry Markkanen.
Yeah, that's so hard. Like that in my mind, the Jazz going out and getting somebody and giving away 4 or 5 of those picks that they sat on and told us for years that it's been, this is what you work for, this is what you want as a GM. Well, then it better pay off, and it better be a bigger name than Mikal Bridges, right? I mean, and that's the unfortunate thing is like that's how you get guys here is through the trade or through the draft, right? You trade to get them here, or you draft to get them here. Trying to make a pitch to get them to play here. I mean, do you think? I don't know. These guys are all talking to each other in the offseason. Do you think that the text thread between that entire Villanova, squad? Do you think of Jalen Brunson and DiVincenzo and Mikal Bridges and who's the other?
Josh Hart.
And Josh Hart. All 4 of those guys. Could you imagine how wild that text thread was after they made it happen?
They were sharing screenshots from their FaceTime calls.
See, I thought that was made up. Like I saw those, and I thought, those guys don't like each other that much, right? But you know what? They feel like they're going to be able to contend. They're going to be an immediate threat for sure. I mean, they were a good team this year, but Boston still feels like a difficult to get over that hump to defeat the Boston Celtics. Is that move going to be enough? It feels like it's going to be, pretty close at least. At the very least, it'll be fun to watch to see how this thing gets pulled off. But you get jealous when you're a Jazz fan and you watch other teams having all these fun things. When was the last time you feel like there was a team that was having a text thread or a Zoom call with everybody on the chat looking like they were the accounting department at an office or something, like, oh, Taco Tuesday, like this is that's what's wild is like you don't get that kind of stuff very often. So I don't know if what you're gonna land tonight, but Lowry Markkanen is a lot of things, but this electric off-court guy is not one of them, and so you're not going to get some. I don't think people are beating the door down to be like, I can't wait to play with that guy.
There's not a lot of Markkanen jerseys that you see around town, right? I mean, I just hate to admit it. Like you need another guy. You need an alpha. You need a face. Like Donovan Mitchell was the face of this franchise for 5 years.
Ooh, I got a way to do it.
Okay.
Put it on the hockey sweater. Boom.
Okay.
Then you got Markkanen. You got Markkanen.
Because I want one of those black
a Finnish name. It's a Finnish name on a hockey sweater, man. It feels right.
No, I think that could change. Look, that was unfair to Lowry. I think that if the Jazz made it to the Western Conference Finals, everybody would be wearing a Lowry Markkanen shirt. It's not about Lowry.
Yeah.
It's about this team is not winning games. This team is not making it to the playoffs. This team is not capturing the imagination and the hearts and minds of sports fans in Utah. We've seen the excitement around the hockey club the last couple of months. When was the last time you felt that about the Jazz in this community?
Yeah.
Probably have to go back to 2021, right? Which is recent past, but it all fell down after that. So here's another thought I had before we go to break. You mentioned free agency. We talked about how free agency is not the way to go. I've got a list of the free agents here. Do you want me to quickly go through?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So just to illustrate that this is not the answer. You cannot build a contender through free agency anymore. The opportunities are just not there that make sense. Okay, LeBron James, top free agent available.
Yeah.
Not leaving, not happening.
Off the list.
Paul George, they're already talking about this deal with the Warriors, whatever. He's 34 years old. Do you want to give him a max 4-year extension? No. Okay.
What did Zanik say about it too? He goes, "You'll get a lot of solid guys on there, but you're not going to get earth-shattering
Who's
dudes
changing the
change
face
the
of
team."
your franchise? Now, Tyrese Maxey could be that guy, but here's the caveat. Restricted. Sixers are going to match. Tyrese Maxey would be the perfect free agent addition. Not going to happen. Isaiah Hartenstein, does that get you going?
No, it
Do you
does
think
not.
that's the guy that's going to put you over the top? Of course not. James Harden? You going to bring him here?
Boy.
Isn't it a little too late for that?
Yeah.
Now, James Harden and David Locke, he's going to join us next, would tell you that you add James Harden to your roster, you're going to win 5 to 10 more games a year. That's certainly the case here, but you want to pay him $50 million a year to do it? Probably not. D'Angelo Russell, does that get you going? No. DeMar DeRozan in his 30s. He's 35 years old. OG Anunoby, probably signing with the Knicks. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, championship DNA. But is he a difference maker? No. Klay Thompson at this stage in his career? That doesn't make any sense with where the Jazz are at. Tobias Harris, that's probably the name that's going to be linked to the Jazz the most with free agent money this offseason, and that's maybe a guy that's the most realistic on this list. But, again, is that changing your franchise? Is that changing the course of your franchise through free agency? Absolutely not.
No.
And so those guys aren't out there. Are you going to go – you want the baggage of Miles Bridges?
No.
Of course not.
Nope.
No. Buddy Hield? No. Gary Trent Jr., is he your difference maker?
Oh, my gosh.
So you see where I'm going with all this. Is the guys that are available. You're not adding a difference maker in free agency. So you have two routes. You can either make that blockbuster trade for that guy that's already on a long-term contract, or you build through the draft. The Jazz don't have option number one right now, so what are you going to do? You got to build through the draft, which is a painful, slow, methodical process.
So that's an interesting list there because they actually have the wins. They do the wins against replacement. Then this one would be how many wins that they would add to your team.
Yeah.
Every one of these guys is 5 and under.
Exactly.
Hey,
and you're going to pay 30, 40 million?
A 36-win Jazz team. Let's go.
Yeah, no.
That's what you're talking about. So you've got to start building these up in the draft and through a trade. I would love to see a blockbuster trade that brought a big name here that got you excited. But I'm also I'm also one of those guys. I'm a little bit of a cheapskate, JJ.
Yeah.
I don't like giving away all those first-round draft picks.
And Jazz fans historically have not. They don't. They also, you talk about giving players money. They killed Greg Ostertag for taking too much money. Every guy that's ever taken a bunch of money here has been held to a different standard.
Right.
So you have that as well. But you're right. You don't want to give up a lot of draft capital.
Ugh.
But you have to eventually use it.
Yeah. I don't know if
because taking 3 rookies every year is not the solution.
Yeah, and I don't know if no, and that was actually something too because we were like, oh, you don't want a bunch of young guys in this locker room. And Justin Zanik was actually I think he said something about that. Let's listen to that, Jeremy. The one about whether or not because we all get worried about whether or not having 6 super young dudes on the roster it would be too much and not having that veteran leadership. But here's what Jay-Z said about having 6 young players on the team.
There's a difference between 23-year-olds and 18-year-olds. But if that's the case, you want to make sure that you have enough veterans on the team that can help them grow and do it. They can't raise themselves or raise each other. That's all they have to talk to and know. So I think that becomes very important. And I think we have some good veterans on our team right now, but that will obviously factor into some of the things we either do in free agency or trades or things like that. We're not going to get into a leverage situation I just can't have 6 draft picks. So here's one or give it no. Take it. It's a shot at trying to get a good player.
By the way, when they go, oh, I don't want to, you don't want a bunch of 18-year-olds, do you? It's well, no, actually, if you get a bunch of 18, 19, 20-year-olds, those are the guys who are the most valuable in drafts typically. Nobody goes, because what do we look at? If a guy's 24, if a guy's 23 and a half, and they're in the draft, you go, you ain't it, bro. Hey, Zach Edey. How old's Zach Edey? 22, 23, right? He's kind of along those same lines. Then you look at those guys and you go, man, that guy.
22, yeah.
Yeah, he played 4 years in college. He must be terrible, right?
That's kind of the assumption, right? Unfortunately.
I hate that.
It's not fair, but
right.
It's the truth.
And the reality is that it would actually be smarter for you to get a bunch of big names that are 19 and a half years old. Guess who's 19 and a half years old? Or he's going to be 20 right before the season starts. Stephon Castle, right? These are teenagers.
Yeah,
the best players in the draft are below 21, right? And, in fact, most years we look at it and we go, man, how old is Big Vic now? 19 and a half?
Yeah.
That's what we want. We want young guys. You end up getting knocked if you stayed in college too long, especially in college basketball.
No doubt.
So, all right, let's take a break. We'll come back. We got more to go. When we do return, hey, we're 30 minutes away from locking up our sweepstakes. You can enter to win by going to kslsports.com/contest to go to not the NBA draft because that's tonight, but we are kind of giving you a quick turnaround. We're going to send you to Las Vegas by giving you tickets and $1,000 cash. 4 tickets to the Sphere and the NHL draft on Friday, and then on top of it, $1,000 of spending money or whatever it is you want to do with it down in Las Vegas. Wink, wink. Say no more. All those things that go along with it. And you know what? What's nice is gas prices right now, JJ. You don't have to spend the full $1,000 on gas now, so that's a good thing.
That's nice.
So there you go. We'll give you $1,000. We'll give you the 4 tickets to go down to check out the NHL draft, down in Las Vegas on Friday. You just go to kslsports.com/contest, and you can win that right there. We will close the contest at 5, and we'll read off a winner at 5:30. Stay here. More to go around the corner. We've got a Jazz draft update. We've got more coming up as well. David Locke is going to join us right here. Stay with us, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Every decision comes with enormous uncertainty.
Counting you down to draft day.
With the 10th pick.
This is your draft update on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
NBA draft and your draft update right here. Utah Jazz GM Justin Zanik and the draft plan that they have going forward. Try to find great players. It's not that crazy of a plan, right? The question is who is that player going to be? Lots of competition, of course, out there, but he doesn't want to create competition among his own players and among his own draft picks.
I've been very happy with the development of those 3 guys. I've told you guys before, and you've seen development isn't just guaranteed minutes on the court. Whether you have competition or not, you don't play free minutes here. They have work to do no matter who we draft or we don't. So I don't look at it as like, oh, I've got to go create competition, or this isn't football. Like, what we're trying to do is add many good players as possible, do a great job of developing them, and then we make it work and fit in terms of playing time and, with the reality of trying to win games.
There's your Jazz draft update right here, 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone. Hoping to get David Locke, the voice of the Utah Jazz, in just a couple minutes here, so we'll stand by. We've got more draft coverage, including an insane amount of money for one of the New York Knicks. No, it's not Mikal Bridges. No, it's not even a name you would have probably named off in the first 2 or 3. The amount of money going to some of these guys as role players. Stay right here, 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone.
It's time to get the inside scoop on the Utah Jazz from the play-by-play voice of the Jazz, David Locke.
Sweet revenge!
Presented by Murdoch Auto Group.
Ow!
On 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Welcome back. It is Jazz Draft Night. It's the NBA Draft. We are outside the Delta Center out here on the plaza, taking in some of the scenery here. Of course, they got the signature Salt Lake Summer League signage up on the stadium as well,
Which is a very cool logo, by the way.
Awesome.
I think it's great.
It looks dope. And on top of it, did I just say dope?
You did. You aged yourself there.
Look.
I think it's gas is what you should say.
Oh, it's fire.
That
fire.
logo is gas.
Yeah, that makes sense. Trying to be hip with the kids, but yeah. If you want to come down, check it out. They're opening the doors at 5 o'clock, coming up in just over 20 minutes to get in the doors, and you can check out this Jazz draft party. It could be quite a party. David Locke, voice of the Utah Jazz, joining us here on the program. Locke, multiple picks is a lot more fun to have a party with, right?
Yeah, it could be a fun night. It's gonna be, if the draft is about entertainment, and you follow it, I understand these are not the most recognizable names. There's not that much entertainment to Victor Wembanyama or Zion Williamson. Like, you know exactly who they're going to be, you know who they're going to, you know what it's going to be. It's not really a story there. Tonight, there are 3 to 4 players are in play for all of the top 5 picks, and then 5 to 7 players along in play to every other pick, along with the fact that if teams really do what they say, which is build their own draft boards, irrelevant of mock drafts and what the media says, I don't actually believe that to be true, but let's go with it, then you could have players that are number 1 on someone's draft board that's number 12 on somebody else's, number 5 on somebody's draft board is number 25 on somebody else's. So the mock drafts have all been very uniform for a while. I don't think that's how the night's going to go.
Well, that's what I was going to ask. I mean, it's a phenomenal point because we're always, it's all about whatever the GMs want, what they're trying to build. And, yeah, the names aren't as easy this year for you to be able to go, oh, for sure, that's your 1 and that's your 2. Last year at this time and walking up to the draft, it was, Victor Wembanyama. And then how often did we say, yeah, it's Big Vic and then it's Scoot, Big Vic, then it's Scoot. And everything changed, walking up to the draft. And so things can change. But in a draft like this, you said 3 or 4 names there at the top. Is it crazy to think that the Jazz and the name that they really want to go after could be somebody that ends up at 10 because teams do have priorities kind of going all in different directions?
I think there's, of the projected 10 players right now, I think there's 2 players that could fall. One player that surprisingly could fall to the Jazz that they would have to really consider. I think there's a chance that Vazulis, the G League kid, could have a tough night tonight, considering he was projected as high as 4, and he's interviewed with the Atlanta Hawks. I think he could have it doesn't take a lot for me to suddenly have him slip. Cody Williams out of Colorado is a really nice player. I think he's projected at 7, 8, or 9. I'm going to be super surprised if he's available at 10, but if he is, I think you run to the podium to go draft him. He matches kind of every 10th pick that's existed. Everyone says it's a bad draft. Honestly, evaluating this draft, once you get to about pick 6, it's about on par, maybe even a little earlier. It's about on par to what you usually get in a draft at. The 6th pick is kind of a 6th pick, and the 12th pick is kind of a 12th pick, and in fact, the 20th pick might be better than a regular 20th pick. I think, I've charted every draft for the last 15 years and where players come from, and I think this will be a draft where the 15 to 30 may turn out to be better than many, many drafts of years past. In fact, I'm certain of that. There have been some drafts that we classify as good drafts who about 13, 14, 15 are literally over. Like there's not another player to be selected. That's not the case here tonight.
I know you do a lot of homework before the draft, so I'm curious to get your take and opinion on who are the guys you've identified that you really like that are realistic in that top 10 range, or maybe there's some guys beyond that you really like in this draft.
Well, let me just go big picture for a second, just so if someone's listening, driving home right now, or going to be watching, there's certain storylines that I think are really interesting, and one of the ones I think is most interesting is the 23-year-olds. Because of COVID, we literally have a bunch of guys that are 23 who've never had this in the draft before. And those guys were seniors in high school when the freshmen last year were either in 7th or 8th grade. And most of them had great years, and they hadn't had great years prior. And so that, to me, is one of the biggest storylines. What do you think of Terrence Shannon Jr.? What do you think of Dalton Knecht? How do you evaluate Baylor Shireman? These are 23-year-olds who just beat up on 7th and 8th graders. And I got to be honest, I'd be really scared if I was a GM. And the second thing in this draft, there's a lot of guys who don't shoot well. And that, I don't have a track record. I can't find the last 5 years of data that I pulled. And I need to have 10 or 15 years of data, and I'll figure out a way to get it. But in the last 5 years of data, if you don't shoot well in college, you don't actually shoot well in the NBA either. That's a myth. So there's guys in this draft who don't shoot well and are really old. Well, they're two different categories. Some are really old, and they probably shoot pretty well now. And the other guys don't shoot well. And both those groups really would make me awfully nervous as a GM to put that name on a card and go to the board. So when you ask me who I like, to me, those are the two driving forces. But there's a lot of GMs who probably figure the 23-year-old is ready to help out immediately, or that they can teach a guy how to shoot. And I'm analytically don't like either. I don't believe in either of those two things. So, my guys are kind of the 19, 20-year-olds that can shoot it a little bit. So I think Cody Williams got a chance to be really good. If I had to guess, every draft, I don't think this one will as of right now, but every draft is supposed to have 2 All-Stars in the top 10, 3 guys bust, by the way, in the top 10, and then you have another 5 players that are rotation players, 3 or 4 of which are starters. I think Cody Williams becomes a starter in the NBA. I think Alex Sarr probably is a starter in the NBA at the number 1 or 2 pick. Donovan Clingan maybe becomes the second All-Star if he really becomes, he's huge. And if he can do enough other things. But it gets thin quickly. I like Devin Carter, who if I had to put money on it, I'd say that's our pick. I like him. He plays the game right. He plays hard. He's physically strong. He knows how to play. I like Jared McCain a lot, who doesn't have great athleticism. He just seems like he feels the game right. The kid out of Cal, Jalen Tyson, who will be available by 29, I like a lot. Reminds me of Dylan Brooks, and he ran the most pick and rolls of anybody in the NBA in college basketball that's in this draft, so I think he can be ready to play. The center out of Marquette, kind of a wild name there, Oso. I was watching Tyler Kolek, who is a 23-year-old guard, which scares me, and I kept watching that Oso kid and thinking he was great. And he's going to go. He could be available. He could be available 29, 30, too.
Curious what you would think of Stephon Castle, somebody that a lot of Jazz fans have fallen in love with, who's all over the board there from 1 through 10.
I mean, I think he's probably the very top of our draft board. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of rumors that if he slides to 5, we're going to trade up for him. If I was in the draft room, I would ask him why you think he can shoot. Because if he can't shoot when there's 6 minutes left in the game, you're going to take him off the floor.
Great point.
Jay-Z, we listened to a lot of his, stuff, obviously, over the past week of what this draft class looks like, and he's dealing with a lot of the same questions, Locke, that we hear every year about every draft, right? But one of the things he did bring up was, hey, look, I can give you some negative stuff on 450 guys in the league, but this also maybe the most talented league. You bring that up all the time, is how phenomenally talented this league is. Is it getting better? Is it the way you've kind of painted the picture of some of these, bad shooters coming out of college? And I know your love of the college game. Sometimes watching some of those is hard to stomach during the year. But is the state of basketball in a really, really good place, though, as these young players come into the league this year and looking forward?
I mean, the NBA is loaded, and we haven't had expansion forever. And simultaneously not having expansion, we've had the coolest guys in the world playing our game. And the skill set, and we've had European expansion, and we've had skill expansion. And so the game's, this class of players is into a league that's harder to make hay than ever before. Like, what year last year? Okay, Victor Wembanyama, right. And Brandon Miller was okay. And Scoot Henderson was terrible.
Yes.
And Amon Thompson and Absor Thompson were interesting, but, Amon Thompson got good in Houston when they turned him into a center because he can't shoot. And Jerice Walker, who was the 7th pick of the draft, didn't play. And, run down the list. Right? Everyone wants to talk about, this draft's no good. Yeah, the the kid last year out of Houston, Dries Walker, everybody couldn't stop talking about how great he is. Like, he didn't play.
Yeah.
And Anthony Black didn't play. Like, it's incredibly hard to be good enough to be in this league. I talk to my friends about this all the time, that I feel like I go on these radio shows and everybody thinks I'm the biggest you-know-what on the planet because I think all these guys coming in the league have no chance. And I'm not trying to be Debbie Downer or be a jerk to these players. It's out of respect for how flippin' great every single one of the guys in the league is.
Yeah.
Like Chris Dunn was a 5th pick of the draft who's hanging on for life. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't think Chris Dunn would murder every single one of these kids on opening day of an NBA season next year? He'd murder them on the court.
And he's barely hanging on.
And he's going to get a minimum contract from someone.
No doubt. The big story in the last 24 hours, I want to get your reaction to.
Wait, Taylor Horton Tucker would kill these kids.
Yeah.
And we're killing him,
Right.
as we watch him play, right?
Hey,
Right?
Locke, before we cut you
kill
loose.
These kids. What do you like?
Yeah.
Here's an interesting one. Wait, look this one up for me for a second. This is a great one. This is awesome. I had not thought about this.
I got you.
This is awesome. How old is Taylor Horton Tucker?
Oh, I
23?
Okay, so's Dalton Connect. What do you think Taylor Horton Tucker would do in the SEC last year?
He'd be the player of the year.
Player of the year, yeah.
Oh, my God, he'd score 38 points a game. He'd kill people.
That's fair.
He'll be 24 middle of the season.
Yeah, so will Dalton
Even though he
Connect.
looks like he's 34.
So will Dalton Connect.
Right.
Yeah.
So will Dalton Connect.
goodness.
So will Baylor Sandmaker. So will Tyler Kolek. So will Terrence Shannon Jr. I can't touch any of those guys.
Yeah.
Dalton Connect might be our pick. If he gets to 10, I'll bet you we take him. He can shoot it. He can play the ball in his hands. He can do a lot of things. But he was 23, and he started in a junior college, and then he played at Northern Colorado. I'm scared of that.
No, yeah, I get it 100%. Locke, I want to get your reaction to what the Knicks did the last 24 hours, the Mikal Bridges trade, and the agreement they've made with OG Anunoby. What impact does that have on the Knicks in the league?
Well, they're great. I mean, the second best team in the Eastern Conference. I would quibble with Alex's tease a little bit. I think OG Anunoby's really good. But I think he's probably
We were just looking at the numbers. 42.5 per Locke, and that's the only part is I'm like, I guess that's not knocking him. I guess that's just where the numbers have gotten on these guys. And of all the names, I just feel like he maybe just because the Mikal Bridges and all these other Villanova Wildcats are so much more. I don't know. Anunoby had a good playoff, so I mean that's really kind of where you get paid, obviously in the offseason.
Well, I mean, he was really good in Toronto. So 10 is a veteran bench player that gets off the bench some of the time. 20 is a rotation player. 30 is a starter. 40 is a high-end starter. 50 is a star. 40 is a high-end starter, and 50 is a star. But I think 60, if you go to the ringer,
that'll be 60 and 50 next year.
Huh? Right. Well, then in 3 years it's going to be on the new TV deal. It's going to be 80 is a star. So, yeah, I mean, so if you just signed OG Anunoby to a 4-year contract, it's 40. I don't know the numbers. I didn't know they had signed him. I just heard your tease and figured that's who it was.
Yeah, it's 5 years, 212. Yep.
So it's 40 a year.
Yep.
Well, it's probably too much for the next 2 years when Mikal Bridges is making 20, and then he's probably underpaid after that when the new TV deal kicks in.
It's a good team.
I think
That
really,
next team's good.
If you go grab the Ringer top 100 list, I think I put him at top 40 player in the NBA. Is that too high? Maybe top 50.
Anunoby or
Mikal
Bridges?
Bridges is number 50 on the Ringer top 100 list. I think OG
55.
OG and
They've
Mikal Bridges.
55.
They've got him at 55.
Yeah, they're about the same. I mean,
Yeah. Well,
they're both
And they gave
long
up a lot
wings
for
who can defend, And shoot, no, I think the real story is whether Mikal Bridges was actually worth 5 first-round draft picks, and the answer is no.
That's
but the answer is yes. So the answer is no. Mikal Bridges is not worth 5 first-round draft picks. But if you're New York and you're looking for the one last final piece and you need your second wing defender to guard Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum because you already have OG Anunoby as your other one, and this guy's available, and you have a Bojan Bogdanovic contract you can trade today, but you don't have any other contract you can ever move, so you got to use that one now. And once you've signed some of your other guys to other money, you're not going to. Once you sign OG Anunoby and Isaiah Hartenstein, you're not going to be able to do other deals. Well, then who gives a beep if you throw in the fourth and fifth first-round draft pick? Throw the whole thing because this is your chance to do it. And so that's what's hard for us because we're trying to get Mikal Bridges, but we got to be using our assets correctly. And the Knicks are like, well, we got this whole thing built. This is our shot. Here we are. Let's go.
David Locke, voice of the Utah Jazz. Locke, I think that are you doing you're doing some TV work tonight, right? I think.
Yeah, I'm running a moment behind. I'm going to blame it on you guys. It's not.
Do it.
Don't tell anyone. It's not your fault at all. But I'm only going to walk in and say, sorry, I had to do the Sports Zone, and sorry I'm late coming in. So
roll your eyes at us, no problem.
Our bad.
You and the coach. What else is? Where can people come watch? Where can people watch you tonight?
We're going to be on Jazz Plus tonight, so that's the only way to see us. I think on Utah Jazz YouTube maybe also. So Jazz Plus and Utah Jazz YouTube, and Bowler and Thurl are going to be there. And then you got great basketball minds like Tim Lacombe and Michael Smith. And then I'll have a lot of conjuncture and bullcrap that people will think sounds good, but probably is going to be totally inaccurate, and I hope nobody ever takes the show. I'm a little concerned that it's on YouTube because if it was just on Jazz Plus, I could talk about how much I like players like Jared McCain, who may never play more than 10 minutes in the NBA, and then I'm gonna end up, having it on YouTube, and someone's gonna be able to pull the take the way they did to Stephen A. Smith today about nobody on Villanova being an NBA player.
We all could become victim to old takes exposed tonight. We all have to be careful.
All right, Locke, have fun tonight, man. We'll cut you loose and you can get to your gig. And thanks for coming on with us, man. We love it.
I can't believe you guys made me late today.
I know.
So brutal
Sorry.
you did that to me.
Our fault. We're the worst.
Appreciate it, Locke. There you go. There, David Locke. Jazz Plus. And then pull those clips off of YouTube immediately.
Someone will take care of that.
That's right. All right, I'm going to do it one more time. We got 5 minutes left here, you guys. Up until 5 o'clock, we're going to enter people to win. Oh, yeah. We want to send you to Las Vegas, and we'll do it with 4 tickets to the NHL draft on Friday and then $1,000 cash to be walking around. That's some wham money right there, JJ, some walking around dough right there.
Wham money?
Well, yeah, wham money's walking around money.
Oh.
We'll just wham, walking around money.
That's a new term. I like it.
You thought Vegas went somewhere else with that, huh?
No.
You're a bad
Not
person.
at all. Not at all. Don't put that on me.
All right, here's what we're going to do.
And now it's time to go to break.
KSLSports.com/contest. Go right now. KSLSports.com/contest. The winner, we're going to pull. We're going to take the last names all the way up till 5 o'clock. We're going to pull that name, and we're going to read it off for you at 5:30. And then, of course, we're going to keep bringing you Jazz draft coverage all the way up through the end of the first round tonight. And then into tomorrow when round 2 starts up again, we'll do the same thing again. So stay right here. KSLSports.com/contest, and we'll enter you to win. And I just can't wait. Somebody's going to get $1,000 and 4 tickets to the Sphere to watch the NHL draft. We're an NHL town now. This is our new reality. This is us now. This is our
Go hockey.
Yeah, you're darn right. We're going to come back. More to go around the corner. We're live here at the Plaza at the Delta Center. You can come down, check it out. Got a free watch party for Jazz fans to come see the NBA draft. Stay with us, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.